Okay, everyone, we're ready and we're back with our last of our three sessions. As always, just send me a quick emoji to let me know if my microphone is on and if you're all back in the room with us. Okay, so maybe for those of you that's just joined, this is the team then. It's myself, Ina, and Salama and Evidence are ready there to support you with any questions that you may have. Remember, our upcoming exam then covers all 7 learning units, so everything in the textbook. Yes, we are recording the session and it will be shared with you. Please check in with your lecturers where your brand is sharing these recordings with you. Okay, so we're in our third and last session, and in this one, we're going to go through learning units 5 and 6. Remember then, your path to success has got two pillars. One, it's all about preparation, and the other one is about your exam techniques. So in that first year accounting, we show you 3 ownership forms. Most of first year accounting goes around the sole trader, but then in learning units 5 and 6, we introduce you to 2 other ownership forms, namely the partnerships and the close corporations. In learning unit 5, there is a really good question. It's question 5.7. And this question asks you, what are the main differences between a sole trader and a partnership? And remember again, we said you need to be studying theory as well for the upcoming exam, either as a standalone theory question or to help you in being able to answer application style questions. So a question like this, question 5.7 then, is a nice theory question. So make sure you look at this question. But what I always tell my students to do is I tell them to take this question 5.7 and add on 2 extra columns and also answer all of those questions around the ownership and the capital contributions and the control for closed corporations and companies, because then you've got a nice comparison of all the different ownership forms in South Africa. The question might be, now, where do I find information to complete it for closed corporations and companies? For this, again, you can go back to your first semester textbook. So remember earlier, myself and Tumi, you'll remember we showed you the video, spoke about the importance of page 53. But here is another page that is important from last semester's textbook, and this is pages 10 to 15 in your Accounting 1A textbook, because in there is a discussion on each of the 4 ownership forms. So please go back to your first semester textbook and just go through this information. So as we said before, when you study a learning unit, quickly go through your learning unit outcomes just to say, can I do everything that was expected of me in this learning unit? Okay, so let's jump in now. So for a sole trader, we know that we have a capital account and we have a drawings account. Okay, so that's for our sole trader. And we have one capital account, one drawings account, and at the end of the year, we take the balance of the drawings account and we close it off against a capital account. So that's what we have done up until the end of Learning Unit 4 for the sole trader. But then in Learning Unit 5, we introduce you to partnerships. And partnerships is where you have more than one owner. So now you're going to have more than one capital account, and you're going to have a capital account per partner or per owner. But remember, in a partnership, we call the owner a partner. So in my example, we've got 2 partners. One is called Varsity, one is College. And so there's now a capital account per partner. But the capital accounts still have a credit balance. So whether you're in a partnership or whether you are in a sole trader, a capital account always has a credit balance. And you'll remember Salama and Tumi referred to dead click, and click tells us that capital, liabilities, and income has got credit balances. Then for the drawings account, again, there's now going to be a drawings account per partner. So there's now going to be more than one drawings account, but the drawings account will still have a debit balance. Okay, so a drawings account has always got a debit balance, irrespective if you're working with a partnership or with a sole trader. But the difference now comes in, where are we going to close off the drawings account? You will remember in the sole trader, we took the drawings account to the capital account, but with a partnership, we take the drawings account to the partner's current accounts. Okay, so that is a major difference in where the drawings account is going to end up in. And now talking about these current accounts, they are now the brand new accounts to partnerships. So this is something that is unique to a partnership. And remember, when we test you on learning units 5 and 6, we are looking to test you on stuff that's different from the sole trader. Okay, so a current account is definitely something new and different in the partnership. And again, there's going to be one of these accounts for every partner. What do we put into these current accounts? Into these current accounts, we are going to put all the income and expenses that comes out of the partnership agreement. Okay, so in the partnership agreement, they are going to include things like interest. So this is also something new. For the first time now, the owner or partner is going to earn interest on their capital account balance. And that interest goes to the current account. There's also now interest on drawings. So when the partners take money out of the business, they've got to pay interest on the money they're taking out of the partnership. Even the current account itself also carries interest. Then there is a special salary that can get paid to the partners. That will go into the current account. There could be a bonus paid to the partners or partner that goes to the current account. And then lastly, the partner's share of the profits or losses goes into the current account. So all these things will be stipulated in the partnership agreement, and all of these are going to be recorded in this brand new current account. So let's look how we will record each of these in the current account. Okay, the next important thing we have to note about a current account is that it can have a debit balance or it can have a credit balance. So when it comes to the balance of the current account, you will have to look carefully at the information we give you in the question and at the little trial balance we give you, and you will have to make sure, does this current account have a debit balance or does it have a credit balance? Because that can vary depending on the question. Then the interest on the current account is always going to be on the same side as the balance in the current account. So partner Varsity had a debit balance, so the interest on the current account goes on the debit side. Partner College had a credit balance, so the interest on the current account goes on the credit side. Then the interest on the drawings is always on the debit side of the current account. And remember, we also close off the drawings against the current account. So the interest on the drawings and the drawings is always going to be on the debit side of the current account. When it comes to interest on the drawings, check your question to see for how many months was that the interest on the drawings. And interest on drawings is income to the partnership because the partners have to pay this interest to the partnership. And then, of course, you're not going to forget to show us these interest calculations as part of your current account. Then the interest on capital always comes on the credit side of the current account. And we're going to check in the question if there was any additional capital contributions that was made during the year, because that will impact your interest calculation. Interest on the capital account is an expense to the partnership because the partnership must pay this interest to each of the partners. Then we said that the partners can earn a salary. And here you just need to check in the question, are we giving you the monthly salary or are we giving you the annual salary? Because if we're giving you the monthly salary, then you still need to multiply it by 12. This salary that goes into the current account, this is a special type of salary. And you can go and look in your textbook on pages 173 and 174, where they discuss these special salaries that can be paid to partners. Then we also, of course, going to share now with the partners their share of the profits or the losses that was made in the business of the partnership. And that share in the profit or losses also goes to the current account of the partner. And here we've got another top tip from Salama. So Salama, I don't know if you want to jump in here and just explain this to the students.
Hi, yes, Ina. Okay, so if you are going to get or this question in the exam, just remember on your answer sheet to write SIB. Okay, so that you know that what you need to record in the current account are your perks and your penalties. Okay, and part of your perks and penalties will include the S stands for salaries, which you know is a perk to the partner. There will be 3 interests that you need to record. Interest on capital, which is a perk. Interest on current will either be a perk or a penalty depending on the partner's opening balance. I'm sure you, if the partner has a debit balance, then the interest will be a penalty. If the partner has a credit opening balance, then the interest will be a perk. And then, of course, we know that interest on drawings is a penalty. And then, of course, the last one is the B stands for bonus. So just please remember SIB, so that you know that you have to record these 3 transactions into your current account of your partners. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so once you've recorded and you've used Salama's acronym SIB, once you've got all the transactions in, please don't forget to balance your account. And this is important for any general ledger account question in the exam, because these balances carry down and the balance brought down, both of those carry marks. And so often students forget to balance their accounts properly. And then again, it's just easy good marks that you then lose in a question. And as always, of course, a reminder to show all of your different workings. If you want to go and practice more questions with current accounts, then there's quite a few of them in Learning Unit 5 in your textbook. And just remember, when it comes to the current accounts, you must be able to do them in the general ledger, but you also need to be able to do the general journal entries. So in my example today, I only showed you the general ledger, but please also go and practice these questions for the general journal entries. There they are actually. Specifically, question 5.1 is a good question to practice for the general journal entries for the current accounts. Salama, Evidence, anything you want to add in for our students at this point? Okay, I'm going to go on then. So another new account that we come across, and this is for both partnerships and closed corporations, is the so-called appropriation account. So all of our different business ownership forms has trading accounts and profit and loss accounts. So remember from last semester Learning Unit 9, the trading account is where we calculate gross profit, and the profit and loss account is where we calculate the net profit or loss. Now, in all business forms, you will have those two accounts. But in closed corporations and partnerships, also have an appropriation account. And so this profit or loss that the business has made gets taken to the appropriation account. And that is then where we're going to share it amongst the partners or amongst the members of the closed corporation. So let's look at these appropriation accounts. So we'll begin with an appropriation account in a partnership. So as we said, we begin an appropriation account with the current year profit. So in this situation, we have a profit. And if you want to look at a question with a profit, you can look at question 5.1. But the partnership may also have made a loss. And if you want to look at an example of a loss, then you can look at question 5.5. So you can see if it's a profit, it goes on the credit side. And if it is a loss, we begin it on the debit side. Then into the appropriation account, we're going to close off now all these accounts that was in the current account. So you can see we're closing off the interest on capital, interest on drawings, interest on current account, those special salaries, and the bonus paid to the partner. Interest on capital, salary, and bonuses, always on the debit side. Interest on drawings, always on the credit side. But the interest on the current account can be on the credit or the debit side. And it will be dependent on whether the partners paid more interest to the partnership or did they receive more interest from the partnership. And that will depend if it goes on the debit or on the credit side. Something I also just need to stress is that for each of these accounts, like the salary accounts and the current accounts and the drawings and the capital accounts, you have to specify the name of the partner. Because we now have more than one capital account, you can't just say capital, or you can't just say drawings, or just current, because there is one per partner. So please don't forget to add in that extra detail so that we know it is the salary account for varsity or the salary account for college. Please don't just write capital or drawings or current without telling us for which partner it is. Then something else that can go into your appropriation account is something called a replacement reserve. And that is also something new in Learning Unit 5. This replacement reserve is income that the partners can decide to keep in the partnership and not distribute to the partners. You will see in your textbook, if you look at questions 5.3 and 5.8, they discuss the replacement reserve in those questions. Then, once we have now closed off all the accounts to the appropriation account, we'll add up the biggest side. And in this example, it's the credit side. Then we subtract from it all the amounts on the debit side. And that then provides us with the remaining profit. And that remaining profit or loss is then shared amongst the partners, either using their profit share ratio that is given to you in the question, like in question 5.1, Or the question, like question 5.4, can say that you have to use the capital contributions to decide or to calculate how to share the profit amongst the partners. And again, here you can see I'm saying current varsity, current college. So the same as with the salaries, remember to indicate to us specifically which partner's current account you are going to allocate the amount to. So in this scenario then, this is what it looks like if the business made a profit and there is a remaining profit to be shared amongst the partners. On this side, on the debit side, are all the expenses to the partnership. And on the credit side is the income for the partnership. And then we're sharing the remaining profits between the partners. And this is what it will look like if there was a profit in the partnership, like we had in question 5.1 in the textbook. If the partnership made a loss, then as I showed you earlier, the loss will go on the debit side, and then that loss will be shared amongst the partners, and now it's sitting on the credit side. So if you match up on this side, it's all the green blocks to follow, and on this side, it's all the red blocks to follow. And you can do question 5.5 in your textbook. That will give you then a question where we made a loss. There's actually only one question in the textbook where the partnership made a loss. That's question 5.5. So definitely include that one as part of your revision. If you want to go and practice more appropriation accounts or calculating profit share ratios, there's quite a few questions in your textbook that you can go and practice. Now, we said a closed corporation also has an appropriation account. And for the closed corporation now, the appropriation account looks quite different. For the closed corporation, so now I'm doing a closed corporation here. This is what the appropriation account is going to look like. We still have included in here the current year profits. So that's your current year profits. But we also have in this account your retained earnings. And this is now from previous years. So those are profits that you made in previous years that you did not share amongst the members. And these terms, retained earnings or undrawn profits, they are quite unique to learning unit number 6. So in learning unit number 6, you will see quite a few questions, makes reference to your retained earnings. And they use the term retained earnings and undrawn profits. They sort of alternate depending on the question, but these two terms are synonymous. They mean the same thing. So you have your opening retained earnings, your current year profits, your current year income tax. Because remember now, a closed corporation is now a tax entity in its own right. So for the first time now, we have an entity that has to pay income tax. So now we'll also see in Learning Unit 6 that our questions now involve income tax as well. And then here is the distribution to the members, so that the members in this closed corporation takes 64,500 rands of the profits. And then the last number, the one in the red block here, this is your closing retained earnings. So just look carefully. The one on the credit side is opening retained earnings, and the one here on the debit side is closing retained earnings. And this one normally has to be calculated. So that would be the number that's not given to you in the question. Now, last year, in the last year's exam, they asked the student to do the appropriation account, but instead of saying prepare the appropriation account, they changed it around a bit and they just asked the student to calculate the retained earnings. So this is what the question looked like in last year's exam paper. And I wonder, I think we have got a few minutes. So do you all want to quickly just see? I think it's time that the students must work now as well as Salama and Evidence. Do you agree with me? I think the three of us have worked jolly hard today. So I think it's time now our students work a bit as well. So students, quickly on your calculator, see if you can quickly work out for me the retained earnings balance at the end of the financial year. And once you have your answer, then you can just type it up for us in the chats. And then Evidence and Salama will hand out stars to those who can get it right. So I'm just going to pause a minute to give you a chance to do the calculation. Okay, so think back in terms of this calculation. I'm just going to jump back. Just have a look again at how we did this appropriation account. So just look at what's on the debit side, what is on the credit side. Try and keep that in mind. And then just use the numbers that we gave students here in the 2024 exam. If you think you've got the answer, then we are gonna, you can just put it up in the chats for us, and then we can just have a look if you're all able to calculate it. Okay, come on, students. I'm not seeing a lot of answers. Well done, Donovan. He's got his answer out. There's another answer coming out now. So just quickly do your calculation. Okay, I'm seeing some more answers coming out. And then we will, then I'll put up the answer. Okay, I think some of you have had a go at it. So let's have a look at the answer then. So there is the answer. So instead of doing the actual appropriation account, the student just had to do the calculation. So this first number was your opening retained earnings. Then there's your current year profits, and they made it a little bit easier for us. They already subtracted the income tax, so we didn't have to worry about that. And then there is the amount that was distributed to the members. And that then gives us the retained earnings at the end of the year. And Salama has, I see she has also put that for you in the chats, but here it is up on the screen as well. This is another one of Salama's top tips, is your formula that you can use to calculate the retained earnings at the end of the year. Salama, I don't know if you want to say anything to the students on this or Evidence.
Hi, Ina, maybe just to remember the formula, yes, and then to just when they get into the exam room and they're given a question like this, to just jot down that during the reading time. It would really assist them if they just remember the formula for, because it could either be given where you've just shown this example now when it becomes part of a calculation, but also if it's given in the form of the general ledger T account, it will also then remind them where to record it. Okay. And then, I think we had a question by one of the students. Sorry, I think he was referring to actually partnerships. If we could go back, he wanted to know why do we not record the replacement reserve amount on the credit side of the appropriation, and why is it on the debit side? You maybe want to just give some clarity
Okay,
there.
thank you. Okay, so remember the replacement reserve is money that we want to keep in the partnership. So we put it on the debit side to subtract it from the money that is available to be shared amongst the partners. If we put it on the credit side, then we actually mean that there is more money to be shared amongst the partners. And the whole aim or purpose of the reserve is to keep back and not share all of the money with the partnership. So that's why it goes here on the debit side, because we subtract it from the credit amounts before we start calculating the profit share between the different partners.
Thank you, Ina.
Okay, so the next thing we need to look at is the statement of changes in equity, because this statement is drastically different between the different ownership forms. So the first one that's up on your screen now is the one that you know quite well and that we spoke about earlier as well when we looked at Learning Unit 7. This is our normal statement of changes in equity that we would have used for our sole trader. Okay, so this is the one that comes out of Learning Unit number 4. But a partnership also has a statement of changes in equity. And you can see this one is quite a bit more onerous than our little simple statement that we have for our sole trader. So please, you have to make sure that you can also do this statement of changes in equity in a partnership. So in the partnership then, we're going to have a column for the capital contributions. And you can see these are the original capital the owner contributed to the partnership, or the partner rather. Then we have now got columns for the current accounts. We have a column for the appropriation account. And then the one that's a little bit obscured, but you'll see it in the next slide, is we have a total column. So into these current account columns and the appropriation column is essentially just a summary of all the entries that we made in the current accounts and in the appropriation accounts. So that's where all of these numbers will tie right back to the current account or the appropriation account. But again, please just note here, you can see some numbers are with brackets and some are without brackets. And in this statement, again, brackets is really important. So you must please, in your revision, make sure that you see when and where to use the brackets. So let's have a look at this. So as Salama told us earlier about the perks and the penalties, so if it's a perk for the partner, it means it will be an expense to the partnership. And an expense to the partnership goes in brackets, and the perks for the partners are without brackets. Then, if it is a penalty for the partner, it means it will be income in the hands of the partnership. And so the income is without brackets, but the penalty is with the brackets. And then the last numbers are our profit share numbers. So please go and have a look at particularly question 5.1 and example 5.1. Those are the only two questions in the textbook where they do the statement of changes in equity. So please make sure that you include that in your revision. And of course, as always, you're going to show us workings and you're going to make sure you are showing us brackets. Salama, evidence, anything you want to add or comment on from the students?
Ina, as you just mentioned now, I just also gave them some notes just to remember that whatever they've actually done in the T accounts is what they are going to be recording again here. the perks, the penalties. The only difference now is our perks is the positive amount. So those are the amounts we're going to add, and our penalties will be the amounts we're going to subtract. So that will be the amounts in brackets. And for the appropriation, what are we recording there? Our income and expenses. And my students know, I've drilled it in class, that your perks for the partners are your expenses to the partnership, and the penalties to the partners become the income to the partnership. Okay,
That's it.
so
Okay,
yeah,
I'll show it to
thank
them
you.
nicely, slowly here, so you can see the perks and the expenses go together, and then the
Yes,
penalties and the
and the
income
income.
goes together, and then the last one is just the profit.
Perfect. So
Okay?
whatever they've actually done in the key accounts, those calculations, it's exactly the same. It's just the layout maybe of the structure of how now we need to show it in column format, because I think most of the time, well, the minute the students get a structure that is a little bit different, the layout, then they forget what they're supposed to do. But otherwise, it's exactly what they have done in their T accounts, if they could just remember that. And then the student is asking about the layout. Yes, Taylor, of course, you need to know the layout. But then again, just remember that the layout is all based on your perks, your penalties, your income, and your expenses. So if you just remember that, that is what you're going to be writing down here. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, what I wanted to say is, remember, you can then go and do that question 5.1. If you do question 5.1, in that question, you actually have to do the current accounts and appropriation accounts, and then the statement of changes in equity. So in that question, you've got both. So once you've finished your general ledger accounts, you can actually then hold the two next to each other, your statement of changes in equity and your general ledger. And then you'll actually be able to see that all the amounts are exactly the same. The one is just the statement of changes in equity, and the other one is your general ledger account. That question 5.1 is a really good revision question in Learning Unit 5, because it really takes you through everything in terms of the partnerships. Okay, now the statement of changes in equity for a closed corporation also looks different. Okay, so for each three of our ownership forms, the statement of changes in equity looks different. And this is now your example of the statement of changes in equity for a closed corporation. And you can see we've now got a column here for the members' contributions. With other words, that's the capital that the members put into the closed corporation. And then there's that special column for the retained earnings or undrawn profits. So for this one, you can look at example 6.4 and question 6.5. In those two, you will be able to see questions with statements of changes in equity, specifically for the closed corporation. So while we're talking of closed corporations, then the next thing we have to note is, in a closed corporation, we talk about the members' interest percentages. So what percentage of the closed corporation is held by each member? And the total percentage in a closed corporation is 100%. So each member, what percentage of that 100% does each of the members hold? So in this example, member A has got 50%, B 20, and C 30. And if we add it together, it must always equal 100%. Now, in a closed corporations, the types of questions we can ask you is questions where we play around a little bit with these percentages. So one example could be, what happens now if one of my members resign? How will that now impact these percentages? And I'll show you some examples in a minute. Or what happens to these percentages if a new member joins the closed corporation? Or what happens if there is a transfer between existing members? And in these internal transfers, there's two possibilities. And you have to make sure that you can see the difference in how we record these two possibilities. So things to practice here would be example 6.1 and question 6.1. Those are two good exercises where we play around with these percentages. So let's have a look. So here we have now the scenario where our member C is now completely resigning from the closed corporation. But member C held 30% of the closed corporation. So what must happen now is we must take that 30% and split it between the remaining members, making sure that member A gets the bigger portion of the 30% because currently member A holds a bigger stake in the closed corporation. These types of questions are quite popular. If you do look at past papers, you'll see these kinds of questions come up quite a bit in past paper questions. So as always, you're going to show us workings and you're going to make sure we know if you are adding or if you are subtracting. So with C, I am subtracting, and with A and B, I'm adding. So this is if a member resigns. Then if we have a new member joining into the closed corporation and they get a 20% stake in the closed corporation. So this is now member D, they getting 20%. But this means that members A, B, and C each have to give up a little part of their current holding to enable member D to get his 20%, because we can never exceed that 100%. So now A, B, and C each have to give up 20% of their holding to enable member D to acquire the 20%. And here you can see I'm going to subtract from A, B, and C and add to member D. Then we have the internal transfers, and here is where you have to just make sure you're reading your wording carefully. Here we have member B buy 10% interest in the CC from member A. This should be read that member B is buying 10% of the entire closed corporation, and the entire closed corporation is 100%. So member B is buying 10% of 100%. But in the next scenario, member B buys 20% of member C's interest. So with other words, 20% of 50%. So please, when you do these types of questions, just read them really carefully. Is the member getting 20% of a particular member's interest, or is he getting that percentage of the entire closed corporation? Because it does make a difference in your percentages. Then again, a little bit of theory in Learning Unit 6 is two very important terms that you need to know. The one term is members' interest, and members' interest can also be called members' funds, and it's calculated as the members' contribution, so their capital, plus any revaluation surpluses of non-current assets, plus the retained earnings. The member's net investment, it starts with the member's net investment, and then we add to it loans from the members, and we subtract loans to the members. So these two terms, you must know how to do an application question on these terms, and also you need to be able to answer a theory question. It's also on page 193 in your textbook, where they give you these two terms and what is included in each one. And then in terms of application questions, you can look at question 6.8 in your textbook, as well as revision question 12 in Annexure B for the application questions on these terms. Okay, then in terms of the statement of financial position, so again, for each of our ownership forms, there's a little bit of changes that we make to the statement of financial position, and it mostly goes around the owner's equity. Because in the sole trader, we only have the one owner. But of course, in the partnership, we have multiple owners or multiple partners. And we have also now got these current accounts. So when we do the equity section in the statement of financial position, we have our capital accounts and the new current accounts, and then also that replacement reserve also forms part of equity. The assets look just like the sole trader, and the liabilities, although there's none here, also look just like the sole trader. The main difference really is just your equity section. And you can try question 5.1 and 5.3. Both of these questions requires a statement of financial position for partners. Okay, anything to add there, Salama, and evidence?
Hi, Ina. No, it's all good
Nothing.
on my side. I've just
Okay.
again just tried to again, always tell my students again with regard to the CC, the three scenarios that you just mentioned now, when a member resigns, when a new member joins, and an internal transfer. Of course, I will first do the change in the member's interest, but I think you're still going to get to the next part now where they would want them to show the change in the members fund. So are we still going to be doing an example on that?
No, I'm not doing that. That one I'm just leaving up for the students. That's why I'm
Yes.
giving
So
them
it's
questions 6.8 and 12.
perfect.
Yes.
Yes. So please, they must work through those revision questions, because there they will see what I'm trying to tell them with the change in the members' funds when a new member joins. It will only be the retained earnings that there will be a change in. But for the internal transfer, just to remember there's three changes: the contribution, the retained earnings, and the revaluation reserve. We only do one calculation, okay? Because for the one member, it will increase, and for the other member, it will decrease, okay? But it's best for them to actually have a look at those questions again in the textbook. And
Actually, you
then,
can also, sorry if I may interrupt, in questions, example 6.1 and question 6.1, you can also look, I didn't add them there to my list, but they will also help you with those calculations that Salama was referring to. Sorry, Salama, I think I interrupted you. You were still going to
no.
add something.
Okay. And then most importantly here, is this formulas, these calculations. Because if they don't give them the layout, they will have to remember this, okay? For showing those changes in the members fund. So please again, do study the theory on pages. I think I did mention them earlier on in the chat, that they should just cover the theory in learning units on pages 191 to 193. And of course, these two formulas are very, very important. Okay, going forward in this learning unit. Thanks, Ina.
Okay, great. Right,
Sorry.
so,
Hi, Ina.
oh,
Yeah, I think just to elaborate on what Salama has just said, and to maybe try and clarify for Nkateko, the one that's busy asking about resigning. So the student is asking if there wouldn't be wouldn't returning the funds change the members' funds. So technically, you're not changing the funds of the other
Funds as
members.
member.
So you need to think about each member. Their contribution is basically their investment into the closed corporation. And when you invest into a certain business, you obviously expect to get some profits. Your profits would be the profits that have been paid out into your pockets and the retained earnings, which are the ones that are still remaining in the
Remaining.
business. Then at the same time, things like your land and buildings, because they normally appreciate in value. If you were to sell those assets, of which for you to acquire those assets, you probably had to use your contributions, meaning that resigning members' contributions as well had a role in acquiring the non-current assets. So that's why the members also hold a portion of the revaluation. So then, if that particular member is resigning, they are technically just taking their investment along with what they have received in profits from the investment. So think about yourself. If you were to buy shares and the shares increase in value, when you what do you call this, when you withdraw your shares or when you sell your shares, you're going to sell them at the higher price, meaning you will also receive the profit from what you originally bought the shares for. Hopefully that is making sense a bit. My brain is a bit foggy today. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Thanks. I think that was a good explanation for the students, just in terms of also what to understand under each of these different terms. But definitely, students, look at example 6.1. There they do the percentages and the changes in funds, and example 6.1, and then this question 6.8, and then that question 12. So please just have a look at all of those different variations and questions. Okay, then the last thing we are going to look at now is just the financial statements now for the closed corporation. So we've now looked at the changes we're going to make to the partnership. Now let's look at the closed corporation. So here in your statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, here we're now going to include income tax as one of the expenses. You will now remember we've said a closed corporation is a tax entity in its own right. So it pays tax on the profits made by the business, where with your partnerships and sole traders, the individual owner gets taxed on their share of the profits. So in your statement of profit and loss, when you look, then in Learning Unit 6, you will see right at the end of the statement, we now also subtract the income tax expense. The rest of the statement looks just like your Learning Unit 4 statement. There's just the addition of the income tax. Then in the statement of changes in equity, we've now seen that one looks quite different from the sole trader, and that includes now the members' contributions and the retained earnings. Then in your statement of financial position, instead of talking about owner's equity, we now talk about members' interest. So similar to the partnership, we're just tweaking the wording because now we don't have an owner, we have a member or we have a partner. So we're just changing the words there. We also now have, with a closed corporation, the members can make a loan to the closed corporation, or they can take a loan from the closed corporation, and those loans will be shown either as current assets or current liabilities, depending if the loan was made by the member or if the loan was received by the member. And then when it comes to the notes, we've got a couple of new notes that are unique to closed corporations. The first of those new notes deal with these loans. So these loans that are either made to the members or that are made from the members, those get their own notes. And you can look specifically at question, sorry, let me just find the question quickly. It's question 6.5. In question 6.5 is a comprehensive question on the financial statements of a closed corporation. And in this question, together with the example, let me just get the example number, 6.4, they deal with the financial statements of a closed corporation. Another new note that comes out of closed corporations is the note with the transactions with the members. And this note also comes out in questions 6.2 and 6.3 of the textbook. And then, of course, they are again in question 6.5. So please make sure that when you are studying all your notes for the sole trader, you just remember that for a closed corporation, there are 3 extra new notes. And when we look again at past papers, we'll see in last year's exam, they actually specifically tested the student on these new notes. So you'll see over here, there was the loans to and from the members, and here was the transaction with the members. So remember, these notes do get tested as well. So it was done last year. So you can go and try this past paper at home. And then remember again, if you are trying a past paper, then you are going to try and time yourself to make sure that you are able to complete a question within the time that we expect of you. So if we go back here, so this question was for 14 marks. So remember again, you're going to take that 14, you are going to multiply it by 1.2. So it means the student had just over or just under 17 minutes. So if you want to go and try this question at home, give yourself 17 minutes and see if you're able to prepare those 3 notes for this exam question. Other closed corporation questions, there's quite a lot also in Learning Unit 6. So there's both good examples and then good questions that you can practice for Learning Unit number 6. Any more questions from our participants?
Hi, Ina. Yes, please. Could you go back to the slide where you showed the new additions to the financial statement?
Is this the one?
Yes, I think this is the one. Sia Sanda. Let's just see, what was the slide after this?
That was the actual new notes.
Okay, the actual new notes. I think it was these 2 slides. Yes, you just need the new additions. Yes, ma'am. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so these are the notes for the loans to and from the members. And again, you can see, students, that there are instances where we use the brackets. So please, we've said it now a few times, but please even take note of things, little details like that, whether the number is with or without the brackets. So, for example, here, loans to the members and the closed corporation made some repayments. So we put it in brackets. So the bracket use is a theme across all the notes. So please make sure you pay specific attention to that when you do your revision. And then this was your other note. And again, you can see there was some brackets that was used in this note as well. And this is the one, the transactions with the members. So there's interest, of course, on those loans that the closed corporation either has to pay to the member, that will be the interest expense, or the member has to pay to the closed corporation. That would be the interest income. And then these remunerations would be salaries that the members have earned during the year. Okay, students, I think that nearly brings us to the end. I just want to recap then for you. So remember, it's all about what you do now before the exam, all about preparation, and then what you do once you're in that exam venue and you're sitting there for those 3 hours. So in terms of what are we going to do before the exam, remember, you're going to find that quiet spot, preferably with a table. you are going to pick a question from the textbook and you're going to write your answer out in full with a pen on a paper. Then you're going to mark your answer against the solution provided in Annexure A of the textbook. You're going to identify if you've got any weaknesses in those kinds of questions. If you do, you're going to come over to your ARC resources. You're going to see what is being pre-populated in ARC or what your lecturer uploaded for you extra on ARC on that topic. You're going to try another question to make sure now that you have understood now and you now see where you went wrong the last time. And if you're still stuck, please, lecturers are more than willing to help. Pop us a quick email and just say, look, in question 5, date 10, I don't understand how they calculated that number, and we can help you with that. And then, of course, you are going to do some past paper questions, and you're going to make sure that you can work at the right speed. Please, students, we don't want to get answer booklets where the whole last 2-3 questions are left out because the students didn't work against the right speed in the paper. And then on the day when you sit in the exam venue, here it links right in it with it again. You're going to manage your time, students. Please, you're going to make sure you're not going to overrun time, particularly on the first questions in the paper, because remember, there's going to be at least, there could be 5 to 7 questions in the paper. So you don't want to spend all your time on question 1 and then be in trouble with the later questions. Remember, we're going to read our required first, so we don't waste time. We know what they want us to do. We know what to look for, and we're going to read with care. You must read up to the full stop, okay, so that you don't miss out anything that we tell you in the required. Dates, remember, we said dates are so important in an accounting paper. And particularly learning units 3 and 4, you're going to draw it out for yourself in a timeline so that you can see, visually see what this question is about. Everyone's going to show us workings. Send me a thumbs up quickly. Are you going to show us workings, students? Yes, please. I must say, in general, I don't know, Evidence and Salama, how you finding it, but I think students are doing much better in showing their workings from the beginning of the year. I'm certainly seeing a big improvement, so well done on that one, students. And then, of course, you're going to memorize things like your layouts, your terminologies, and your formats, particularly for Learning Units 3, 4, and 6, not 6, 7, that you know all of those layouts. Then to recap, remember it's a 150 mark paper. You've got 180 minutes, so that's where I get my 1.2 from. We're going to read required, we're going to show workings, and please don't forget this last one. You are only allowed to work in pen. Please leave your pencils at home on the exam day. Please only work in pen. And then, of course, that's an important one. Don't give up, students. Don't give up until they don't take your paper away from you. You've still got a chance. As always, my sincerest thanks to Salama and Evidence, who have worked so hard today. Students, can you all send them some love and applause, please? Thank you, Evidence. Thank you, Salama, for your very able assistance. And to you two students, send yourself now some love as well, and to your classmates. Well done for attending and sticking it out with me for the full 3 hours. Well done. We really wish you all just the best. We are in your corner, we're rooting for you, and we really want you to do well. Salama and Evidence, last words from you just to encourage our students.
Hi everyone. Just give your best. I know you got this. Remain calm. And I always say, just when you're going through the exam paper, it doesn't mean that you have to start with question 1. You have the option. Start with a question you know best. And then moving forward from there again, please try and answer all the questions, okay? Do not leave any question unanswered or leave it blank, okay? Be guided by the mark allocation so that you can finish within the time, which is the 3 hours for 150 marks. So please just give your best. I know you can do this, okay? Remain calm. If you've practiced all the past papers, if you've practiced them, if you work through the revision videos for test 1, test 2, and today's exam revision session, you should be way on your way to being successful. But the important thing here is that you need to go and practice. And as Ina mentioned, please just take note of all these exam tips. What I would suggest you do now is even just, Ina, maybe just go, yes, is let them take a pic of this so that they know that this is what they need to focus on. Okay, guys, take a little pic on your phone so that when you writing that paper, you will remember this. Okay, go well. All the best for next week. Thanks, Ina. Thank you.
Thanks, Salama. Evidence, Shame, I know your voice is just about giving in, but is there any last words of wisdom from your end for our students?
I'd say Miss Salama covered a lot, but yeah, all the best. Keep practicing. Don't give up. For things like trial balances, statement of financial position, sometimes you might feel like it's the question that you know best and you're thinking that it will balance and then it doesn't balance. If it's not balancing, when the time is up for that particular question, we move on to the next question. You will still get some marks for what you've done. But don't try and force a trial balance or a statement of financial position to be correct and waste time and not allow yourself enough time to do other questions. So yeah, all the best, guys. All the best.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone. That's then where we'll wrap it up for this last of our revision sessions, and everything of the best.